Welcome to Call of Your Soul.
Welcome to Call of Your Soul. This is Dan Ellis with my co host Amy Piper and our special guest Nadia Donze. And before we jump into today's episode, just inviting you to come to a place of stillness. And if you're able to, maybe bring the eyes closed and then just bring your body into a position where it's of rest. And then setting our intentions here, opening up to receive, and inviting in the wisdom which is going to be held through this episode. And then finishing the exhale that you're on, starting low into the belly, taking a deep breath in. And exhale out. All right, welcome Amy Bear and welcome Nadia. Thank you guys so much for being here. And Nadia, we'll just kick it off with if you could just give us a sense of what you're up to currently and what you're bringing to the world.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Hello, I'm Nadia, and first, I think I'm a mother. I have three children of my own, and also raising a fourth one who came into our life 5 years ago. He's a young adult now, um, and I think I'm a mystic. Really, I just spent a lot of time in meditation. That's what I love to do. Lately, I've been doing drawings, sacred geometry that are channeled through me, and that's what I like to do for people too. I channel a lot, and I'm always in connection with the divine, and I try to live really in alignment with love and kindness.
That's beautiful. And like me, it sounds like there's a lot of multiplicity and quite a few archetypes that you're embodying. And excited to unfold all those different archetypes and what that brings, in your different roles, as a channeler, as a mystic, as a mother, as an artist,
Mhm.
and as a healer as well.
Oh yes.
Um, so let's maybe go back in time and figure out how you got here, Nadia. So I know there was quite a formative experience in your early years, and maybe take us back to France in your early age, and what what started leading you onto this path.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in France in the 80s, and where I was living, it was workers. Everybody was working in car factories, so it was a lower middle class, I would say, and very patriarchal. But I came to understand later that my parents were very extremist compared to other people, but we owed total obedience to my father. I could not. It's not even saying no. I could not just pick up my mind for anything. It's just I had to please. I also had to please my mother. I guess she was a little bit scared of my father, and she also, well, wanted me to please her. That's all. So I have had some memories of some spanks and slaps. I think I've shut some things down, and I don't really need to bring them up. But I learned to
Yeah.
dissociate at a very early age, and it's funny because two, it was always like I was two different people, two different person. I was the child that had to be obedient, and so I dissociated to feel safe, and I really didn't have an identity. But also, I felt since very very early, I felt a very strong connection to this beautiful presence that very later I understood was Jesus, but I didn't know it was him at the time. and it was not like what when we talk about Christ consciousness, it was not like that. He was like a real person. I could feel his personality. I could feel his joy, his love, his laughter. So it was really a bond with a person, right? And
Yeah.
so no matter what happened in my life, or when when adults I didn't really have anybody to trust when I was a kid, so I was really on my own. But even when people were mean to me, or when I felt sad, deep down there was a joy that never left, and it never left. So I think that has helped me a lot through all my experiences in life.
Yeah, of course. And was this something that was common at that time in France? I know, like in certain parts of the country, in like the post World War II, like Industrial Revolution manufacturing era, there's quite of like a patriarchal, like man rules the house, sort of like by dominance. There's definitely some of that in my lineage. So was that also something that was culturally common in France?
Yeah, and it's also 50 years from now, so back in time, I mean. um, so a lot of women didn't work, so it was a different world than now. Mothers were at home with the kids, and dad was providing, and that, like, you had special women who worked like teachers, things like that,
Yeah.
but they were seen as special, right? And yeah, and my parents were both born just after World War II, and I know there was a lot of trauma, a lot of scarcity, a lot of fear, a lot of hatred of the foreign people, a lot of, so it was not a real uh, joyous experience. And yeah,
Yeah, and you're also right next to Germany. So after
yes,
World War II, I mean, there's so much damage, especially in those two countries. So, and it's quite a significant amount of trauma just from the level of destruction.
yes, yes.
And
And a lot of, like, my two grandfathers were taken to Germany for forced labor. So they were not in the concentration camps, but they had to work for the Germans, right? And so it's a lot of, yeah, lots of trauma all around.
yeah, and it seems like too, like I know in France, even now, almost half of the country is non-religious.
Hmm.
Would that also be true for your parents back then? And then, if so, how did that affect their interpretation of you being this bright child who has a connection to Jesus? They probably had no basis to understand like what you were experiencing.
So, so it's funny because I think everything goes back to my two grandfathers, because when they were in Germany, one of them escaped, and he raised his children to be deeply, deeply Catholic, and he escaped by pleasing people. And so that's my mom's father. And so his whole family was pleasing people, going to church, doing social work, blah, blah, blah. But it was all to feel good about themselves. That it was not real kindness, right? It was to feel safe. So it was coming from a trauma.
Right.
And my mom was raised Catholic, but she had very bad experiences at Catholic school, and then she shut all the religions down. So she didn't want to talk about it at all. And on my dad's side, my grandfather didn't escape, and he survived by being invisible. So just worked hard, not say a word, but not he was not pleasing anybody. He was just like doing his work, doing the best work he can, and that's how we raised my dad. So he was not religious at all. And so that's very interesting to see how the differences were. But yes, they were both atheists when I was born, and so, and they didn't really want to talk about religion, and so I couldn't even ask questions about. I didn't even try.
Yeah. That's really interesting because on your mom's side, they sort of get through as a mode of people pleasing, right? And
Hmm.
and sort of denying what they really believe in order to make peace. And then on the other
Hmm.
side, it's becoming invisible. So
Hmm.
you had mentioned at this age is where you really developed the skill set and the propensity to dissociate. And so those are like
Yeah.
two, it's almost like you have the perfect two mechanisms that force you to keep an internal conflict when you don't share. You're not able to act out what you really believe and what you really feel.
Yes, it was because it was like I was expected to be both, to please people and be invisible.
Oh,
And that's not at all who I am. Also, I'm very joyous, and I don't know if I believe in introvert, extrovert, and all of that, but I was calm and quiet. I love to read, but I love to laugh, and yeah, it was really hard for me to never speak my mind, and I had things to say.
Yeah, so there was really, I mean, this was just a ground that in no way fed, nourished authenticity, your true nature. And even, I imagine it was quite toxic
Mhm.
to efforts to be authentic. I mean, does that sound right?
Yes, yes, I didn't know that I could be authentic. I didn't I didn't know what it was. I was
Yeah.
just uh, I was just surviving day after day, doing what my parents. I didn't even ask questions for myself. I did what needed to be done, and that's it.
Yeah. So survival was a big theme
Hmm.
over
Yes.
generations there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you inherited that. Yeah.
Yeah.
so you had mentioned at this time when you reflect on this age of your life where you find yourself is on the ceiling, like your body's
Yes.
on the floor, yourself is on the ceiling. Maybe
Yeah.
explain, like, for someone who's like, huh, what does that mean? I think for us we get a sense of the dissociation between where your body and where your spirit is, but maybe talk about that experience as a child and then how you reflect on it now.
Yes, so the first time I remember is that I had a baby brother. He's 2 years younger than me, and he was a baby when it happened. Back then we had like these big stereos with lots of buttons, and they were so shiny. And I was I must have been 2.5, and I turned all the buttons, and my father, nobody was allowed to touch the stereo, but the buttons were just too shiny, and my father got my father got enraged, and I got so scared. I told it's my brother, except he was 3 months old. So, and I think lying, it got him even more angry. And I remember him running after me and me trying to um, to hide under the couch, but I wouldn't fit under the couch. And I remember him grabbing my ankle and pulling me to spank me. And that's when I went to the ceiling. And I remember then seeing the spanking and stuff from the ceiling. And I think that was the first time. And so then what happens when I dissociated, and I spent a lot of time dissociated, is that I see everything that happens, and I can talk to people, and I can do what's needed, and I can I can eat. My body is functioning, but there's no emotion. All my soul, all who I am is somewhere else. So for me, it's like from the ceiling. So I see everything from the ceiling, but I'm not connected to the experience. So it's I can look very normal and look like I'm doing my homework, I'm playing the piano, I'm doing the dishes or whatever, but I'm not there. I don't feel anything. So they can hit me, they can insult me, they can do whatever. It doesn't do anything to me because I'm not there.
So for you, Nadia, did you have conscious connection to this part of yourself that was dissociated on the ceiling? Because for some people, there's a maintenance of that connection, even though there's a disconnect. And for other people, like there's no recognition of that at all.
I don't think I understand what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. Let me think about how to phrase that differently. Dan, do you have a thought on how to phrase that differently?
Can you say it one more time and then let me see if I can put some other language to it?
Yeah, so like sometimes people uh, are aware of the part of themselves that is dissociated, the
Hmm.
part that's on the ceiling. Like in the moment, you have awareness of that part, even though you feel disconnected. For other people, there is just no connection whatsoever to that. And so there might later be no memory of that until you might find a safe enough place to begin to remember that part of yourself. Is that a little clearer?
Okay, I didn't understand because for me it's the opposite. I'm on the ceiling. So if I have a connection, is I can see that my body is there, but I'm on the ceiling, so it's not like I need to be connected to it or disconnected. I'm just there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think that's an important point. There's different experiences of dissociation for different people.
Yeah, I'm not.
So
I'm not.
thank you
I'm
for
not.
sharing.
Oh yeah, I'm not in my body at all.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
how much of, like, would you say, your formative childhood, let's, whenever this started, maybe 5 or 6, probably when you had more just memory in general,
Mhm.
to remember what was going on through, like your teenage years, how much of the time do you think you were sort of forced to dissociate just to sort of survive the environment?
I think it's just like every time I felt threatened, or like the teachers would be very rude, or at recess I would have a very hard time, so I just dissociated like that, and I came back into my body during math lesson, which I really loved, and really wanted to be there, or when I was reading my book at home and I was at peace, and so every time I felt safe, I would come back into my body, but I think my default setting was not being there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did that affect your ability to, so like sort of socialize and make friends? Because it was already difficult, I'm sure, with your parents just because of the disconnect in your spiritual nature versus their belief system of thinking that's all for naught. But I imagine having that level of dissociation, it's hard to sort of have, especially when you're early on as kids, right? Everything is very play centered, which sort of really keeps you embodied. So did that affect your ability to cultivate friendships like in that period of time?
Yes, I was very, very bad. I was
Oh,
very bad at making friends for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, my father wanted to be invisible. So in the 18 years I've lived with them, we have never had another couple for dinner, for example, or even for happy hour or everything. So we never socialized with anybody. So I didn't see. I had some play dates, but I was not invited a lot because I was very serious, because I was expected to be the best, and I was expected to work. So I worked a lot. I worked at my homework, I read a lot of books, and I love learning. So it was kind of my happy place. Um, but I had no idea how other kids behaved, and I didn't understand why they would behave like they would. It was really, yeah, I know a lot of kids like thought I was really odd and strange, and I would listen to Mozart, and it's I didn't know how to play the goose, and I was not interested in that. So it's also on me. It's not just on the dissociation, but being dissociated. It's just I saw them on the playground, for example, and their actions didn't make sense to me.
yeah.
I just wanted to
Mm.
observe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I imagine when you have this over time, you're going to have, some adverse health effects, right? It's going to start to catch up to you when you have this gap between, your lively spirit and your physical body. And I think you'd mentioned, there as you got into your teenage years and going to university, you start having some pretty serious health challenges
Yeah, because you don't dissociate for fun, right? You dissociate
to
because you're not
survive.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it means like my body is on fight or flight since I'm 2 years old, on fight and flight all the time. So it's really bad for you. I think when I was 14, I had the beginning of an ulcer. When I was 19, I lost a lot of weight and I lost a lot of hair, and I was just really, really stressed out all the time. Um, yeah, and France being so patriarchal also, when you're a teenager and you're kind of pretty and you get a lot of attention from men, and the catcalling and stuff like that,
Mm,
and all of this stuff made me very uncomfortable. But it was really strange to see men behave that way, even doctors and stuff. And being raised not to say no, and not to have a body, in fact, not to have any boundary, it started to make me very uncomfortable with boys, and I was not at all interested. And all of that, it was I was so different from everybody else that it was really, really a lot of stress, and the amount of work that I was doing every day, all the time, and having to be perfect. For my parents, like good was really, really not good enough. I just had to be the best at everything, and so that made me kind of a mean girl, also that who I'm really not at all. So it was really hard on me, and my health became really, really bad. Yes.
Yeah. So did your parents take it personally, like however you performed at what,
Oh
academically?
yes.
Yeah. So they like that was a total reflection on them, right?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting and important word is performance because authenticity is just like I'm just being myself, and it doesn't mean that you don't have any concern or care about other people around you and how you affect them, but you're authentic in that it's just a natural state of being, a natural expression. Whereas with you, you had this lively spirit, and then your nervous system was in this sympathetic fight or flight state all the time. And so you were kind of militarized, right? It's
yes,
like, it's like, well, I just do what I'm told on the physical level. And that means that I'm performing. I'm performing for other people, and that's my focus in the material world.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Nadia, you ended up choosing to be a nuclear engineer and studying particle physics. That takes quite a bit of gusto intellectually to choose that as a major. So I'm just,
Yeah.
you've had, so now you've kind of gotten us to the point to, where you're making the choice and then you're going out into the world on your own, which I'm sure for you was a very exciting time to sort of get out of the house and, to sort of have a sense of liberty with, with your choices and your next steps of life. So, what made you choose that as a course of study?
I was reading books since I was a child, and that's what one thing that I really love my father for, that he didn't care about my age. The book I wanted, I got, and I really got. I don't know. I got fascinated by the atoms and the electrons, and for me, it just even when I was 8, 9, I knew there was a truth to it that was a lot deeper, and so I was really, really passionate about that. Um, and so yeah, my dad wanted me to be an engineer because in France it's a little bit different than here. I know here it's more researchers that are the elite. In France the engineers are the elite, so he wanted me to be an engineer so that I would be safe.
Hmm.
So since I didn't have a choice, I had to be an engineer. I decided to be an engineer in what I really, really liked, which was like particle physics.
Mm. And then did you graduate and then start working as an engineer in France?
So I got my engineer degree, and then I signed up for a PhD. And so during my PhD, I worked for the French government in a nuclear facility for 3 years. But then it was really, really hard because it was early 2000 in France, and it was still, I think I was one or two women in the laboratory, and we were really treated like secretaries. We had to
Uh,
make the coffee for everybody, take notes during the meetings. Nobody asked us, we just had to do it, and I was paid a lot less than the other students there, male students who were doing the same work as me. I was paid like 3/4 of their pay, I think, maybe even 2/3. And at some point I couldn't anymore. Honestly, I was burned out, and being treated like I knew I had the skills.
yeah.
I knew I understood everything they were telling me, and I was not acknowledged at all. I was not recognized at all. And sometimes they would tell me that I smile too much, and so I got pregnant with my first child, and I quit.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Hmm.
So that was still going on because usually Europe is like very far ahead in terms of social justice and reform, and like especially when it comes to like equal opportunity. So that was still
Hmm.
going on in like the early 2000s.
Hmm.
Wow.
That's funny because it's mostly in the science. Math and science is the male domain.
Okay.
So it's very hard. It was, I don't know how it is now, but it was really hard for a female to show a man that she's as good at math as he is.
Hmm.
So it was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have your firstborn, and
Hmm.
then you have a couple more kids together, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you guys uproot from France to the USA. So I'm just really curious because my wife had to go through the same thing in sort of similar circumstances. What were your thoughts about the US and moving to the US at that time?
I was very excited.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, I was very excited. I always wanted to travel a lot. I always wanted to see something else because I really never saw anything else. But I read so many books. I just wanted to know more, know how other people lived, and so I was very excited to just do something else, and get away from the family, and they were keeping us really in an old-fashioned age that didn't match at all the friends that we made because we were not living at our parents anymore, obviously. So we met other people and they were having lives so different from us that it's not like we realized that something was wrong, but there was something inside of me that said I need to be somewhere else to live another life.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's sort of like a way for you to distance yourself from from all the expectations, the
Yes.
limitations, um, and for you, it seems like having that space in a new culture to immerse yourself in to sort of help form a new identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just good. Yeah.
When you got here, was did you feel like the women's empowerment movement? Did you feel like a greater sense of respect and equality for women?
I was shocked. I was so shocked in a very good way. I was like, I can't believe that women talk to each other to invite their families to dinner. Back where I was, the way I was raised is that everything comes through the man. You cannot. The woman would ask the husband if they can go invite somebody for dinner or go to somebody's for dinner. And here I was, waiting for my kid at school, and these women, they were like chatting, oh, why don't you come over? Yeah, sure. And I'm like, what? Without asking your husband? How is that? So that was it. Kind of, it started opening my eyes. Yes. And a lot more women had jobs, and they were so, taking care of themselves a lot more, and it was just so different.
Yeah, and I'm sure that for you that was like very empowering and a total shift in dynamics where you're like, wait a second, I don't need to ask for permission. I can, forge my own social circle and sort of um, acquiesce like my own needs, and my own desires, without having to get approval.
It took me years to come to this point. At first I was really, really scared.
Yeah.
um, it scared me to see the difference. It scared me, because it meant that I could have done different. We could have done. It meant that something else was possible, right? And I had been like imprisoned all my life, doing everything that everybody else wanted. So the realization that another way was possible, it's very painful
Oh, right.
Mm,
Yeah.
because you didn't
yeah.
allow yourself to take this route. Even you didn't even know that the route existed.
Yeah. Almost like lost time. Is that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And did you ever I know that we may come to this later, but just to kind of touch on, did you ever come back around to your engineer and particle physics
Well, yeah,
knowledge?
I just came around through the spiritual lens. So, but
Beautiful.
never as a science.
Gotcha. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So, some neighbors told you because while you did have opportunity to make friends with women and to kind of set up like play dates and kind of girl time and going out and having fun, it seems like there was still something missing, right? And so a neighbor told you that if you wanted to feel included, that you should maybe try to find a church.
It's not like I was having girl time and things like that because I saw this, I saw this woman do it. But part of me was like, it's not for me. I'm not allowed to do that. So I was seeing the difference and it was starting to put seeds in my mind, but I was not at the point yet when I could join for coffee or things like that. I thought that I didn't have the right to do it, right? I had been raised too much in a, well, by asocial parents, you could say. So it was not for me. And
So you were not
well,
going and like hanging, like doing girl time, basically.
no, no, no,
Oh
no,
wow.
no,
Okay,
no,
got it.
no, no. I was admiring them from afar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also the first year, I must say, it's very hard when you it was very hard for me to join conversation because I had never been immersed in American English before, right? I knew how to speak English, but BBC English and mostly scientific English. So all the slang, all the expressions
Yeah.
so I didn't understand everything that was said. And, people, when they talk in their native language, they talk so fast. So
Yeah.
I was still isolated a lot. I still felt
Oh, that's a
isolated.
really good
Yeah.
point
Mhm.
because even though you spoke English and you spoke it well, there's different kinds of English and different kinds of idioms, and
Mhm.
people do speak fast when it's their native language. So, yeah, I think that I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, and in the US especially, I think we speak a lot in references, like cultural
Yes.
references, especially related to television.
Yep.
And so,
Especially
yeah, and
now,
if you're
yeah.
coming from like British English, and especially with a scientific background, it's like, what are you guys talking about?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, some of my friends laugh at me because I seem to know so little about a lot of the pop culture, and they think I'm amusing. So, and yet I grew up here, so I can imagine what it must have been like to have grown up somewhere else.
Yes. So yes, a neighbor told us that we should maybe join a church to have more families for our children, and because I think I was talking to her and saying that my children missed their grandparents. Obviously,
Hmm.
I had a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time when we moved there, and says, "Oh, if you want family, you join a little church." So I just googled, church, and I was very scared because I'd never been in a church in my life, and so I didn't want to be a. And in France, it's Catholic or Protestant. But here, when I googled church, you had like all this denomination. I had no idea what
You're
Mm,
like,
it
what does
wow,
all
meant.
yeah.
this mean?
I had no idea what it meant. So I saw a church not far from me. I didn't like to drive a lot. So I still don't. So I googled more with Google Maps. I'm like, what's the closest one? And I found a little neighborhood church, and it was Baptist, but it was not. How would I say? Really strict. They did a lot of social justice. They said they were kind of liberal. So I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I went there, and yeah, I loved the people. And as soon as I went there, I felt the energy of Jesus, and that's when I knew that
Mm,
the connection that I felt my whole life was with Jesus.
Mm.
And
mm,
he was so big there. That was really beautiful.
Yeah, because it's like in a Christian church, it's all about right Jesus, right? That's sort of like the focus. That's the
Yes,
emblem of divinity. And so you said you felt exalted, and maybe describe what
yes,
that experience was like.
yes, because I really it's it really felt like Jesus was awakening in my heart because it was like almost as he was home, because these people, they were doing his work. They were not just praising him and saying he was great.
Yeah.
They were like, helping the homeless, feeding at the food bank. There were a lot about social justice, and it just made, I don't know, it gave it a human feeling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm going to blaspheme for some people, and I'm sorry because I'm really not um, versed in religion. But it really felt like I felt Jesus more and more in me. Like he was exalted, he was like so happy, so I was exalted, and I really fell in love with
mm,
this church, and I loved the people with all my heart, and it's almost like I love them as my children, I just wanted to hug them all. And so I really think now, with hindsight, I really think it came from him. It may well have been the first time I channeled him,
Yeah.
mm.
without
It
fail.
must have been like coming home to a place you'd never been before.
Yes, yeah, it felt so familiar. Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it's a quite a difference too, and I think this can happen in multiple different types of traditions. I know this is also the case with like Zen Buddhism as well. It's like you have some folks that tend to practice, and it tends to be more of almost like a study and an intellectual exercise. And then there's the other aspect where it's more about taking action and understanding the concepts, but like how do we put it into practice and being in the world and how we relate to our fellow human beings. And it seems like when you're able to incorporate the latter, it gives everyone a little bit different propensity to be able to connect in with the essence of the teachings and the consciousness that's coming through.
Hmm. Yes,
Yeah, and then
very
you
much.
said so you became more and more involved with the church, and so maybe talk
Yeah.
about some of those experiences and what they had you doing, and did that make you feel that sense of community you were looking for?
Yes, yes. It was a small church, I would say like 120 adherents, something like that. And there was not a lot of young families. And I became really involved in the kids program. And my kids loved going there because they had a lot of grandmas. And
Hmm.
so they had a great time. And I became involved in the choir, and because I play the piano and I've been singing my whole life, and also in the, I don't remember how it's called, the art committee, who would paint like different murals for different seasons of the church and things like that. So I did a lot of I expressed myself a lot through art and music over there. That was really cool.
Hmm.
It's interesting that you said you'd been singing your whole life. So, in what context had you been singing? Because you had this inner joy. Was there a way that you got to bring that through your singing when you were younger, or was that kind of like had to be uh, filtered out?
uh, I didn't really sing in my bedroom because I didn't want to make noise. But
Yeah.
I was going to the Conservatory of Music, and although my major over there was in piano, uh, we also had like singing lesson and history of art and all that. It was like a second school after school, really, and we sang a lot and we had concerts and stuff. And then when I became an adult, I joined a little group of women who were singing in Paris, and so I've been singing all the time.
Hmm. Well, a lot of us in America may not really understand because I don't exactly. When you said the Conservatory of Music, is that something that you did in high school or was that part of a
Yeah,
college?
it's really different from here. It's like it's a real school. It's a it's really a school after school. It's not like you take music lesson. It's not an after class activity. You have homework, you have tests, you have grades, you have judgment to go to the class after that. Um, and then it allows you to be music teacher, or I mean in conservatory yourself, or the conservatory of to go to the conservatory of pianist of sorry of Paris and become a professional pianist and go into the orchestra. So it's the professional way of playing music. So it's a lot
Hmm.
of hours a week. You have lots of homework in all different kinds of disciplines, and it's not playing Little Star and stuff like that.
Yeah, and all of this is in addition to other
To
subjects
high
like
school, and yeah, yeah, yes.
yeah.
Hmm.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
It's, yeah, that's why I was saying I worked a lot.
Yeah.
I really worked a lot.
Yeah,
I think we have some of
yeah,
those in New York, but outside of that, I don't think there's
yeah.
very many conservatories of music. And one distinction I think would be interesting to hear your take on is, what it's like singing, like for the sake of your coursework and because you're compelled to, versus singing for more like bhakti yoga, more like devotion, right? So how did you feel that singing in the conservatory as part of your curriculum versus singing in the choir for the sake because you wanted to for joy and for celebrate
Mm,
Jesus?
mm. So yes, in the conservatory when I sang, it was still fun because you cannot sing and be grumpy. I think it's impossible. So it's just that we didn't choose what we had to sing and when we had to sing, but I still enjoyed it a lot. I think that's one of the places where I was in my body when I was at the Conservatory of Music, because
Hmm.
except during tests and stuff, but singing is like for me, it's really a union of soul and body. And when you put Jesus in the middle, I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like singing in
Mm.
church, there's nothing, there's nothing like that. I feel like,
Well, and for singing, I mean, breath is just so
yes,
essential.
yes.
And breath is not part of dissociation. I mean, we
Hmm.
tend to kind of stop breathing almost when we dissociate, like we breathe shallowly, and so I can imagine that that would instantly begin to bring you back into your body.
Yes, and singing it also activates your vagus nerve, right? And the vagus nerve is what you puts you in a state of rest and digest and calm. So I think all of that it plays to take you out of the fight and flight, at least for a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that about singing in the vagus nerve. I'm glad you brought
Hmm.
that up.
Yeah, I didn't know either. But and it also too, so much of your life up to this point has been like you didn't feel you were. It was like a very real suppression, right? You weren't able to express
Yes,
yourself in sort of any way that you really felt called to it, even as an adult, right? In an
yes,
environment where it's like, oh yeah, like we want to hear from you. We want to go have a chat and coffee. We want to go get our nails done and da 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 da. And none of that had really occurred for you. So this is like one of the first experiences where you can really express yourself and be vocal and have a voice.
yes, yes, yes. Because even the engineer studies is different from here. It's not college. You can go to college in France if you want to do something else, but engineer is very special. So you go to a preparatory school, which is like 40 hours, 45 hours a week of math and science. And it's very, very competitive because then you have tests to go to the best engineer school. So it's like, it's the jungle, honestly. Um, it's not so, it's not a college experience. You don't get out at night. You're locked in the dormitories and you have your homework and you go back the it's like a factory,
Yeah,
so
Mm.
this church, it was the first time I was free, really. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
And then a special someone started to take notice that you had found your voice, and
Yeah,
your light started to shine, and someone had some ideas about that. Unfortunately,
yeah, it didn't last long.
Ugh.
So yes, the pastor started really inviting me to more and more meetings and starting being very friend, and he was a friendly guy, very charismatic, 20 years older than me. And he it's almost like at first he took me under his wing, so that was really cool. And then he started to confide me of his problems. Even some, he would have private meetings with me when we were like painting for the, or doing art or rehearsing music or things like that. And he would always ask me to stay later and started to tell me, his personal problems, and then asking me about my private life. Did I have any problems and things like that? And uh, I thought that was weird, and I talked to my husband a few times about it, but he was not able to hear. He was also in a new country, like trying to boost his career and stuff like that. And he was so happy that I had found a safe place. So he didn't. He was telling me, it's such a different culture, so don't shoot yourself in the foot and misinterpret what people are saying or doing. But
Hmm.
then it
Mm.
became it's really tricky, when you're in different culture. You don't know, you
What's
really don't
normal?
know. But yeah, exactly. So because, for example, from time to time he would kiss me on the lips and say the kiss of peace, and I'm like, I don't see you kiss anybody else on the lips. So that was weird. But then he says the kiss of peace, and he's the pastor. So I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know what to make of that. So all these little signs, you feel like you're in a net, and the net, it's becoming tighter and tighter, and it's so subtle that you don't see it. you know
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's very subtle. So yes, he kind of became closer and closer to me, and more physical, rubbing my shoulder, giving me really long hugs. uh, and it was really, really, and I started getting scared, honestly. But I started dissociating a lot because my kids loved the church. I loved everything about the church. I didn't want to do anything, and I had all my life heard, be obedient to the man, be obedient to the man. And he was a pastor, so I couldn't, I really couldn't believe what my intuition was saying. I just couldn't believe it. That's all. I didn't trust myself. I trusted him more than myself.
Mm.
Mhm.
So
And
then,
you had been taught that the man is to be, you're to be obedient to the male
oh yes,
anyway.
yes, yes,
And then he's in a position of authority in
yep,
addition to that.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it took about 1 year before it became really physical, and it became extremely physical once. And I immediately talked to his wife. A few times before he had made advances, and I had managed to say no, which was really, really hard. And I sobbed in my car a lot after, because saying no to a man it was really, it was really difficult. It's crazy to say, but it was really difficult.
Hmm.
And I was scared to lose everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a very difficult situation, and part of me already was thinking that it was my fault, because he would say things like, "You're a gift of God. You're so special," and so I felt responsible. I can't help myself. Yeah, so yeah, I already felt responsible for the
Yeah.
way he was feeling.
Placing the blame on you. And at this point, you didn't
Hmm.
have like any other females that you were close enough in the congregation to say anything, like
No, he
to
was.
confide in them about it, right?
No, he had been everybody adored him. He had been the pastor like for 25 years there. So nobody would have believed me. So that's what I thought. And so then when I talked to the wife, that's the first time I got a hint that it was not the first time that he was doing that, because she knew exactly how to answer me, how to behave, what to do. So it
She
was
wasn't surprised.
she wasn't surprised at all. So that really shocked me. And so they threatened me a lot. I received like daily emails that you have to keep coming to the church. Nobody has to know anything is different. So I had to keep, singing in the choir and going there every Sunday. I also told my husband right away, and he said, for the children, you don't want to ruin all people's lives, so let's just keep the peace. But he was also uncomfortable. I don't want to. He didn't know what to do either. We didn't know what to do, because we are not fighting people. We don't want to fight people. It was a community that we loved so much. It was really hard to know what to do. That's all, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for one,
Well, and well, I
yes,
just wanted to comment that I noticed that as you were talking about this and all of the kind of pressures of, the internal pressure that the conflict of this is uncomfortable for me, it doesn't feel right, and yet I don't want to cause conflict and I don't want to lose this beautiful community that I found. And the people that you spoke to did not, want you to come forward. And
no,
so I began to, like, what I noticed, and some of the audience might notice this too, is that there's a sense of tension inside of my own body. And I found myself like wanting and needing to take some deep breaths
yes,
so that, and yeah, and I want to just, to anybody who being, maybe some of you have been through something similar too, be sure that you're letting yourself breathe as you're listening to Nadia's story, because this is a tough thing for us to hear. It's a tough
yes,
thing for us to hear. And it's a good thing for us to hear because we need to understand, how this happens, and that it's not, we just need to give ourselves some spaciousness to think about this in new
yes,
ways. So, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to highlight, because now I've heard, firsthand and secondhand, and this has happened across many different traditions, whether it's yoga, whether
Hmm.
it's the Catholic Church or another denomination of church, um, of this sort of abuse from the one who is in an exalted position of especially spiritual authority, towards anyone else. And there's like this common theme of there's someone who is a devotee, to the congregation, to the church, to the institution, and because they've become so invested, there's almost like a sense of like dependence, and then that vulnerability sort of gets taken advantage of, and then it's the whole thing of, you have to keep quiet and you have to, stay invested because we kind of have you, right. Your livelihood and
hmm,
your sense of community and your sense of well-being is all wrapped up in your relationship with this organization. and it really kind of it puts you in a really serious conflict, right? Where it's like, especially not only for if you, it would have been different if you were just there on your own accord, but you've got all your kids who are invested, your whole
Mm-hmm.
family's there, right? And this is like the first place you found community in a whole new
Mm-hmm.
culture and a whole new country. And then, for you to be able to step forth and speak your truth and stand up for what you believe is right, all of your other family members are going to have to bear that consequence alongside you and give that up. And that's just a lot of pressure. It's
Yes.
It's
it's a lot
an
to have to concede.
Yes.
it's a very intense choice. Yeah.
Yes. So for 1 year we chose to just uh, keep going to church,
Mm,
but it was really the hardest year of my life, and I became suicidal because, like you said, the tension inside of me, it's like it's unbearable to have to go every Sunday, but also during the week because the kids program, the choir practice. That so I had to keep doing all my things, and I was spending a lot of time at church. So it was really really hard, and so that's when um, I was crying. It's not even crying, I was bawling every day
hysterical.
and yeah, hysterical every day. When I it was a terrible time, and I didn't know how to keep being alive. So that's when we decided to have I asked my husband to have a third child because I knew if I was pregnant, uh, I would stay alive for my baby, and she's amazing. And so that was so now I put one more pressure on myself because I felt so guilty to cry, and I was pregnant then, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do something to my baby because I'm depressed and I cry all the time and I will have a super sad baby. And so it was one more layer of
Mm.
stuff on me, but she's very joyful, just so you know. Nothing. She was protected the whole time. Nothing happened to her. She's an amazing child. um, so and the insults of the pastor and his wife, and it's hard to describe the pressure that I was under, and so I thought that would be my life forever. But
Mm.
after approximately, and I could tell that people saw something, but they always looked the other way, and that also made me very sad
Yeah.
because something was off. It's very hard to hide something that big. So I lost. I was pregnant, and I was like s- thin as a scarecrow. Something was off. It was obvious. But anyway, after approximately 1 year, a new family came into the church, and the mom was kind of like me, the small brunette. And I saw the pastor starting rubbing her shoulder, sitting with her at meetings, and I was, oh my God.
Here
And
we
I
go
saw people
again.
looking the other way, yeah, and he was charming with her, smiling, laughing, little gesture, taking her under his wing, and I could see she was uncomfortable. And so one Sunday I was in the car with my husband, and I told him I think we have to speak up because I can't have another family go through that. And so that's when we spoke up. So very ironic that I spoke up for another woman, but not for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess kind of take me through. I mean, we can go through the transition of how you got out of there, but just what
Hmm.
does that feel like when you say, I didn't have enough perseverance and courage and inner strength to speak up on behalf of myself, but I could speak up for her because I wanted to protect her more than myself.
Yes, it's not even that. It's that I didn't deserve to speak up for me because I felt responsible for what happened.
Wow.
All the daily threat email. They were reminding me that I was a bad person, that I had triggered everything, that the pastor had a sickness, that and I was the temptation, and so I felt really really ashamed and guilty, and almost as if I was the pastor because I did something in my church and I was there for Jesus, and then it's almost as if I betrayed Jesus. So I didn't deserve to live,
Jeez.
Mm.
right? So I didn't see how it didn't even cross my mind almost to. to speak up for myself. I thought that was normal, that I was punished.
But nothing happened to him, and like no one in the whole congregation reached out to you and like asked to hear your
No.
side of it or took any sort of your perspective at all.
Well, so that when I spoke up to the board, I had to speak up to different people because the first three people I told the story, they just told me to get get out of there, protect the pastor, and
Wow.
I couldn't because of this other woman, right? So the first person I talked to decided to take action. And then so that was a very long process because you fight an institution, it's not people anymore, right? But in the end, the pastor admitted that he had a sexual addiction or a porn addiction, and that he had to write a letter that he had had an affair, which was really horrible for me. And he was allowed to retire for burnout.
Wow. So if you had not said anything, this could have gone on for another 15 years or more.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yes. So
How does that make you feel that because you spoke up, you actually were able to see that change occur and to see this pattern cease for anyone else who could have potentially suffered the same abuse?
when I spoke up, and then we had to leave the church, right? I stayed at the church until he was gone to make sure he would leave. But I was asked to be anonymous, and after a while, I refused to be anonymous because I felt it was wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, I felt it was really, really wrong. And when I kind of, it's not like I took a mic and I spoke out and I said, it's me, but my closest friend, I told them, it's me. And they all, they all insulted me. And I didn't have a lot of support. Two or three people, they understood because they said they felt it too. And one woman said it very beautifully to me. They said it was God's love. And if we all felt so much love from you that if you have an imbalance in your system, it's easy to think you make us special. So most of them, they understood it was God's love from me to everybody, but a man who seeks, who has this kind of addiction, he thought I was in love with him.
Right.
So, and the
So
thing,
there's a distortion of thought and perception
exactly,
on his side. Yeah.
exactly. So that's funny because I forgave him like in 2 seconds, right? I had compassion immediately. It took me 10 years to forgive myself.
Wow.
Mm,
So, and I think a lot of women, they can relate to that because we
yeah.
will understand the male, we will understand the aggressor, like, oh, he had this story and he had that story. And then we're like, oh, I should have known better. I should have da da da. But if I had known better, I would have said no right away. I would have left the church right away. Nothing could have had happened. So when people tell a woman you should have known better or you asked for it, they're not talking to the right woman.
Yeah.
We're not in a space, or and it's obviously even harder with children. We're not in a space when we know better. It's not true. If we knew better, we would not have done that. That's it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting experience.
Well, and it's a distortion that's so much bigger than the
Yeah.
individuals, right? I mean, the distortion is so universal almost and profound because it couldn't exist in a vacuum, I don't think.
Hmm.
But it's being reinforced, all the way throughout your childhood. You're being taught something specific.
Yes.
And then inside of each one of these institutions and inside of your own nuclear family that you created, your husband didn't know what to do either.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And then people that you told wanted to protect the pastor rather than protecting you or
Hmm.
protecting previous or future women who would be put in the same position.
So then, to answer your question, the way it made me feel, when we had to leave the church, I thought my life was over, and then it led me to yoga and meditation, and I found other people, and And that's, I think that's the first time I understood that, if you really surrender, because that's what I did, right? After I spoke up, and I left the church and everything. When I left the church, it was like an act of surrendering. It was not a
Mm-hmm.
decision. It was like I didn't have any energy anymore. You know, my health was terrible, mental and physical, everything. And I was like, I can't. So it was like, Jesus, just do what you want, and I'm following you. And when I surrender, it's the first time I felt like, oh, that's what gives you peace. And you have to trust that something else is better afterwards.
Yeah, and I remember you had said before something about the level of exhaustion that you felt. I remember you had a story about,
Yes,
um, yeah. Do you want to say more about that so that people get a sense of the level of exhaustion that you felt at this point?
yes, yes. So after all that happened, when so my third one was a baby, and we were out of church, and everything, it's like you have all this tension, and then it releases because it's over, and then now you have to deal with your stuff, but the 3D stuff is over, and so it came crashing down on me. I had a very severe Hashimoto's disease, which is a thyroid autoimmune disease. And one day I was carrying my laundry and my baby up the stairs, and I couldn't do it. So I had to crawl on my force, and I would put the baby one step up, and the laundry basket one step up, and then me one step up, and I did that. And that's when I realized that I was not doing good.
Gosh.
Yes, but that's, it's like sometimes, and that's what I want to talk about for the solution, because sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to really find your way, but it's because you have not listened to all the little hints before, all
Mm,
the little opportunities that source or God or whatever you want to call it gives you all your life to follow your soul and listen to your soul, and you choose not to listen or not to act on what your soul wants for the sake of other people or the status quo or your so-called safety, which is not really safety, by the way. But
mhm,
so then the soul speaks louder and louder and louder, and if you never listen, she had to do something really drastic for you to come back to who you are. And so that can go like, for me, there was this experience that, hey, you've not listened. We have tried to tell you, be yourself. And you never listen for your mom's sake, your dad's sake, the teacher, the husband, the pastor. Now it's enough.
Yeah.
and Nadia, what would you say, like, for someone who's in that kind of space, then even that can be heard as something's wrong with me. I did something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't listen to my own spirit self. And so, what would you say to a person who is hearing it that way?
Oh, I think we're all like that. So there's no responsibility. I think it's the journey, and right now we're awakening a little bit more, so we listen a little bit more. But especially if you're my age, uh, we didn't talk about the soul at all. So it's normal. We were asked not to. We were told. We were ordered not to listen to it.
Yeah.
We were told it was bad to listen to our emotions. It's bad. Intuition is not a thing that exists. So if you've been told that your whole life, you can't, even if you have the little butterfly in your stomach and you know what you want to do, you're not going to do it because you cannot allow yourself, and it's normal. And so if you listen to that, try to do it step by step, baby steps, like a little thing that is not really really important. Listen to your soul instead of going to the movies when you don't want to. Say no for the movies. It's not a life changing, decision, but it will show you did something for yourself instead.
Hmm. And the programming just runs so deep. Each
Very
time you're
deep.
told something, whether it's overtly or covertly said, and sometimes what's said covertly
Hmm.
is actually even more powerful than what's been said out loud. Um, so the programming can run so deep that we really don't know how to listen to the soul, and don't really know that we should, although there's
Hmm.
that part of us that's telling us that we should. And so you suggest just baby steps in that direction.
And then you will see it feels better and better. And I think what we have to develop, all of us, is the real faith, because I
Mm.
think everything comes back to faith, and it doesn't have to be religious at all. I keep saying I love Jesus, but I'm not Christian. I don't define myself in any religion. It's fine if you do, but you don't have to. What I mean
Mhm.
is that you can't say you have faith and then every decision you make it from fear.
Yeah.
If you hate your job and you go to your job every morning, and you know it's not what you want to do, it's not faith. If you're too scared to quit because you don't know what's coming next, if you have faith, you will trust that what's coming next is what you want. So that's the surrendering. That's the real work on yourself. It takes a lot of courage, but I've never been disappointed. Once you start listening to your soul, everything becomes better and better. The right things align, the right people show up, and so many testimonies. Not because people are doing it more and more, like the healings that you can give your body, your mind. It's so beautiful, but it just requires to go beyond your fear. And so many channels and spiritual teachers, they say the same phrase, like, beyond your fear, it's your freedom that's waiting for you. It really, really is.
Yeah. And so, like, let's say that you know that your job is, soul sucking, if you will, or it's just not right for you. And so it may not be given your baby step idea. It may not be that I just need to quit my job today and be done. I mean, that may be for you.
Hmm.
But also, it could be just like, let me begin to open to the possibility of a different kind of job first of all. Understanding what you are called to, like listening, like praying and asking for wisdom. I mean, we haven't mentioned wisdom yet, but I
Hmm.
think um, this connection that you're talking about with higher beings like Jesus and so forth is a way of listening to our wisdom, is it not?
Yes, and it's if you know your job is not for you. I think so many person, we're so exhausted at the end of the day that we watch TV, which is perfectly fine, but we don't know what we like.
Hmm.
So I think you have to find out what. And it doesn't have to be a passion for life. We also think a lot of in all and nothing, right?
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
you just have to follow your excitement. If you, I don't know, say that you would like to know how to paint, start taking a painting class 1 hour a week. You don't have to quit your job, but it's something that you do for yourself, and who knows where it will take you.
Hmm. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to highlight here, I think sometimes there's an association that when we're following our call and when we're listening to our soul, it always makes things easier. And I think sometimes that gives us the sense that, oh, well, then if that's the case, then everything thereafter should be easy. And sometimes that's the case, right? But I think life always has certain mountains that we have to climb. And then there's sometimes we're on the way down where we have a little bit more flow and things are easier. And, and Nadia, tell me if you think differently, but I think we also have these soul agreements, right? Where before we became embodied, we set forth, some challenges on our path for us to learn certain things that we needed to be able to work through in this lifetime, right? Like what you just
Hmm.
described with the pastor. And so just
Hmm.
I think we have to be careful with the association that just because I am listening, connected to my soul and following that out, that doesn't mean it's always necessarily going to be easy. Sometimes we're going to have some really tough challenges to work through. But
Hmm.
it's sort of that give and take with, yes, I am going to find what I'm good at. I am going to, find something that helps me be in service where I can also be in a flow state and find the right people in the right environment and enjoy what I'm doing. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to come without challenges.
Yes,
Mm.
the soul is gonna learn what the soul wants to learn in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to take you there. Uh, but for me, it becomes easy because, let me try to find the right words. Once you really, really listen to your soul, and it's a practice, it is a practice, and it means, if people want to know, it's not something like out there. Listening to your soul, it means taking action and behaving in a way that makes you feel aligned, makes you feel peaceful, makes you feel calm, makes you feel, like you're. I love this word aligned. Um, and So it becomes easier because if you listen to the soul that way, the soul doesn't have to give you that hard challenges as it did before for you to listen.
Mm, yeah.
And
Hmm.
also, and you may have a hard challenge just because your soul is advanced and wants this hard challenge, but your reaction will be different. You're not you can react in fear in the moment, but then let's say, for example, you had a very difficult diagnosis, and first maybe you don't understand because you're on your spiritual path and you're doing everything that is right, and so why are you sick now? But so it's all, every time you have a challenge in your life, it's a way of your soul to advance your consciousness. It's a way for consciousness to expand, to understand itself a little bit more. um, and so your challenge is going to help yourself and help other people because your reaction to it will be also in the field consciousness. And so when you listen to your soul, you take things like a little bit with more grace, with more peace, with more um, ease, with more understanding. And so what I mean is like your reaction, your behavior, you are the one who's changing through the challenges. So they don't seem like these big obstacles anymore. You know there's a lesson from it.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I think it's important to recognize that, we may not actually know how to listen to the soul self. Like, as you say, it's a practice.
Yes.
And is it a practice that we even know how to do? Or do we know how to discern the distinction between when I'm listening to my deeper soul self or when I'm listening to my programming or when I'm listening to, whatever else? And so I just want to offer that, if you feel like you don't know that, then get help, see
Hmm.
if you can find someone that you trust, whether it's a professional level person or whether it's, a friend or colleague or, someone you trust who can help you to make that distinction, to discern what you're listening to. What do you think about that, Nadia?
Yes, yes. Meditation helps. Um, Usually, when you listen to your soul, you feel expanded, you feel love, you feel of service, you feel like the answer becomes obvious. It comes from you don't know where. When you listen to the programming, there's always a little bit of fear or anger or competition, or it feels more constricted. It feels like you should, when you should do that. It's never your soul who says should. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of little tips. Um, yeah.
So, in that vein of looking, for the right resources and right support so that you can cultivate the skill of listening to your soul, you left the church. You feels like you're sort of in like a vacuum of what's next. I've lost this, whole, array of support that I had, and sort of like for the first time in my life. And so I guess where did you first turn? I know like the jujitsu, self defense, and then Dr. Joe's work were two really, and yoga
Yeah.
as well, were two instrumental pieces. Like, I guess just take us through like what was the first thing that you found? How did you find these practices, and kind of expand on like what each of these brought to you?
So after I took some time to recover and take care of my baby, and so when you have three children, you don't have a lot of free time. So I took some time just living with them and enjoying living with them. And but I had a lot of, oh yeah, I didn't talk about that before, but I had a lot of post-traumatic trauma, a lot of flashbacks. Breaking sweats, palpitations, nightmares. You know, it was really really hard to deal with that. Seeing the same make of the pastor's car on the street, like I would almost burst into tears, so scared. So
Mm.
a lot of terror, like panic attacks, a lot of panic attacks. So that was really really hard, and that's when I seeked help. from a therapist that I had met through my midwife, in fact. When Sandra was born, I didn't want to go to the hospital because I didn't want to see men.
Mm.
So I just birthed at home with a midwife, and that was fabulous. And these midwives, they were connected to a little yoga studio and energy healers, and it was a world that was completely foreign to me. But they consulted me, advised me to go see a therapist who was doing energy healing, and it was so amazing. I saw her for a long time, and she trained me. I became one of her students, and she trained me into theta healing, which is a modality of energy healing when you go into a meditative state and you're kind of in a theta state, and it opens you to the answers that your client needs. That was really beautiful. And so I did that. And then, since it was all was taking place in a yoga studio, I started taking yoga classes, and it reconnected a little bit my body with my soul. Um, it forced me to be a little bit gentle with my body, and so then and it I don't know, it felt like it was part of a whole, and it was part of my journey to try to help people um, having better experiences than I had, or if they go through that kind of stuff, to know how to help them. So I became a 200 certified yoga teacher too. And one of the yoga students in one of my classes was a Reiki master, and so she trained me in Reiki. So that's what I mean. Like, when you start to surrender and go a little bit more with the flow and just listen to what's around you, everything like shows up. And I didn't know why I would choose this therapist, and I didn't know why I would go to a yoga class, and I just it just felt good, so I did it.
Hmm.
That's and then it and then so I became a Reiki master too. Uh, but all that was very good, but I thought there was one piece missing, because it was all dealing with the soul, but it was not dealing with the body. Yoga, yes, a little bit, but uh, it was still focused on the breathing and the soul and the union, but we really didn't honor the body or recognize what the body goes through as much as I wanted. And I've been raised in a my little brother. I was all about music. He was all about martial arts. He's a martial arts instructor now, and so it made me think. One day I was just doing yoga, and I thought that what I want to do is martial arts. I want to be, I want to. I need also to accept my anger, and yoga is all about peace and love. And I had some anger and resentment that I needed to, and self anger, anger for me, anger for resentment,
Hmm.
self judgment, self loathing. And yoga cannot deal with that. You need to get the humph.
Yeah, you need a way to let it out.
Yep, you need to let it out. And I could feel it was not enough to let it out. So I started taking a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu classes, and wow, that was a hump I needed for sure. I was 40. I signed up for my 40th birthday, and starting a martial art at 40 years old is not easy.
No, it's physical.
It's
It's
really
like
physical.
wrestling for someone who doesn't know. I mean, you're on the mat and bodies
Yep.
are flying
Yeah.
around and trying to grab each other's limbs.
Yes. And then I discovered Gracie Jiu Jitsu, which is the self defense form of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I took the women's self defense class for myself. And the thing, because they talk about how to defend yourself with your words, how to behave when you're suspicious, how to listen to your intuition. It's a wonderful, wonderful course that I recommend to every woman. And I sobbed after every class. Sometimes I sobbed right in the middle of class, and I had to leave the mat. And some of the moves that we had to do to each other, it triggered my PTSD so bad I had to leave. But I thought that was the healing that I needed. Just go through it. And so then I became a coach in that, and I was a coach for a few years for self-defense for women and children. And for me, that was a complete circle. I had my meditation practice, my yoga practice, but also helping myself through self-defense, because putting my body in a safe place, but doing the moves that I really was scared of, it was really cathartic, and I helped a lot of women do the same. And since they could relate, I could relate to their stories. A lot of them confided in me, and so we helped each other. There was a lot of healing that took place in this church. I stopped because my body started falling apart. It was, when I do something, I go all in, and I was doing like 15, 20 hours a week of jujitsu. And
Oof.
after a few years, I was like, I think I'm done.
Yeah. But what a beautiful sacred space to have for women, not only to get together and then share about the experience, which can
Yep.
sometimes be just like, well, we just rehash it over and over, and that can sometimes, lead to
Yep.
just taking the victim stance, but in a very empowered setting, right? And
Yes.
learning how to set boundaries both verbally but
Yes.
also physically. And I didn't know this part. I mean, my wife's taken the class, but I haven't taken the self defense part myself to know that actually listening to the intuition it was part of the instruction as well, which is
Yes.
fascinating.
They even say if you feel you can say no, you can, you're too close to me, sir, please back off. And if they don't, you don't have to be polite anymore. And that's something that women have to be taught, because we want to be polite all the time. But when you feel for your safety and your intuition say run away, you don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to give an explanation. You just go. And that's
Yeah.
something that is very important. And what I love about the Gracie system, the Gracies have done a wonderful job of it, is that the self-defense for women is taught by women, and the only man on the mat is the bad guy, which is beaten up by the by the instructor, the female instructor. That feels really good. But it's all women, and the men are asked not to be around the mat when we do the class. So it's a really, really, it's a real safe place. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's thought out very well, and really, like you said, giving a space for women to really work through, and especially if you've experienced trauma before. It sounds like it's very trauma informed. And
Yes,
then,
it is.
yeah, like I imagine, how would you have otherwise been able to heal through those direct experiences, with physical associations? Had you not had that, it would have been probably much more difficult.
Yeah, and you practice only with women, so it's, you do the moves, but it's a woman who's attacking you, and so it's all. You can go as slow as you want. You can say also, it's very clear at the beginning of each class. We have the reminder that you can stop as soon as it's uncomfortable. If you want to only watch today, you can only watch it. It's really respectful of all our experiences.
Mm-mm. I'm wondering if this is something that we could put a link for into
Sure. Yes.
underneath. Yeah, it seems like it would be a great idea. So, for you guys that are listening, if you're interested in that, we'll be placing a link that you can find underneath the access to this audio.
Yeah, and for any guys out there, that'd probably be a very interesting experience to go in and be the bad guy, and just to be in service to um,
Yes,
what's being
they have that
cultivated.
open mat. Yes. Oh, sorry, because the bad guy on the mat is a coach too, because he has to be coached to let the woman win, and to not show ego, and he also has to let the woman talk, which a lot of coaches have a hard time to do. So
Hmm.
the female instructor is in charge in the female class.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you want
But
someone trained.
they have also a self-defense class that is co-ed, that is, for more like road rage and bar fights and parking lot fights. And so it's very useful to men too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've taken about a year, and I could, yeah, most of it is, and they kind of tell you like most people are sort of preparing for like just fist swinging, but that really only lasts a couple seconds. People don't realize like how quickly people
Mm-hmm.
lose balance, people get tired, and so very quickly
Mm-hmm.
it becomes more grappling than just
Yep.
throwing punches.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's fascinating.
And this was the first time you had said where you started to feel safe since the church experience, right? Where that hypervigilance of I'm not safe, I'm not okay really started to come down, right?
It came down a little bit, yes, but it really came down with the Dr. Joe retreat. That's what really changed my whole. The the healing was, I cannot say linear because it's never linear, but it was gradual. It was taking a lot of time, right? But Dr. Joe, I'm talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Hmm.
Dr. Joe Dispenza teachings and retreats, uh, it really changed my life. It changed my consciousness. It was a healing. It was a peak in my healing that uh, I don't know. I have no words to say my gratitude for these teachings.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to ask Amy before we go into her experience with Dr. Joe's work?
No, I'm eager to hear more about your experience with Dr. Joe.
Yeah. So how did you first find his work and about the retreat?
My best friend. It's funny because we lived in the same state before, but we were just two moms with the kids at the same school, and then we both moved to Georgia at the same time. And so, since we were both expats, we'll say, in Georgia, we became closer and closer. And she's been raised in a I don't remember the name of the science Christian. It's not scientist, but it's Christian Science church, and there are a lot of spirituality in there, and said they talk a lot about source and things like that. So she was really versed in those things, and she introduced me to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and asked me to go with her on a retreat that was happening in Orlando. So first, I took a. When you want to go to a retreat, you have to take an online course first, so that you're not, so that you know a little bit what he's talking about before you go. So I took the online course, and lo and behold, he was talking about quantum physics, and I was like,
You could probably teach him
I
something.
knew it,
Yeah, this is my alley.
I knew it.
That's funny. So that's when it comes full circle with
Yep,
particle physics
that's
and
amazing.
physics. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was amazing. So it talks about the quantum field, and for me, it's like I have a direct line to it, and it was such a relief to hear his words, and it felt so much like my truth, so I signed up for the retreat, and so he has beautiful music and beautiful meditations and science classes, and he really does a good job of putting spirituality in a science language, and he has a lot of data, does a lot of experiments, lots of studies with different kind of people, because now people don't believe in spirituality, they believe in science. So you have to have, for a lot of people, you have to have the science data, so that they believe you, right?
Yeah.
So he does a very good job of that. um, and so we went to a retreat, and I had a instantaneous healing during the second meditation. The first day I was in tremendous pain, because since everything that happened plus the jiu-jitsu, my back was, you know I had a lot of trauma in my vertebrae, in my back, in my neck, in my I was in a lot of pain all the time. Still, my thyroid was not, doing its job. So I still had very low energy, even though I did all this self-defense stuff. So I was still doing not great physically, and I still had. It was better, but I still had some nightmares, panic attacks, and I was scared of men. I didn't, I couldn't sit next to a man. I didn't trust any man, so I knew I was not completely healed. Um, and the first day I was in such pain, and I was like, I can't. I was fighting myself, really, like, why am I doing here? I'm here and I cannot enjoy. I'm in too much pain. It's too hard. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going all in. I don't care. I don't care if I'm in pain. I'm just going to do my best in the meditation. And so when we started to meditate in the morning, I opened up like I've never opened up before, and I was like, bring it on. Just heal me. Do something. Show me the path. And uh, it was not even heal me, it was like show me what's next, help me, like
Hmm.
the basic prayer that we all say at one time, help me. Help me.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't take it anymore, I can't do it by myself. So, and the music started, and suddenly I went out of my body, and it was really different from dissociation, because my body disappeared. I was pure consciousness. There was no sound. Dr. Joe's voice disappeared, the music disappeared. We had blindfolds, so anyway, it was dark anyway, but the sound disappeared, and I was pure consciousness, and I had in front of me all these slices of life that I could choose from. And I knew it was all different lives that I potential life that I could live. And so I was focused on physical healing. And I saw, as I said, I want to go in the reality when I'm healed physically. I went through one slice and I came back into my body, and it went back down like a spiral. It made me feel very dizzy, and for 1 second I didn't know where I was. I didn't know. When the sound came back, I freaked out. I thought I was meditating in my bedroom, and I was not in my bed. It was like, wow, the soul coming back into the body. It was really intense. And as soon as my soul came back into my body, I felt every single one of my cell like aligned together, like tack 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 tack. Like I felt everything becoming electric. I felt this big electrical current flowing through me, and then the whole all the energy of my first three centers, energy centers, I'm talking about chakras, were full of trauma, right? The first centers of safety, the second center of sensuality and expression, and the third center of willpower. Everything was so constricted and blocked and small, and all the energy went to my heart, and everything exploded. And I started sobbing, sobbing, sobbing. It was so much love. You cannot describe this. You cannot describe this feeling. And then I started laughing, laughing, because it was bliss. You know what people talk about bliss?
Hmm.
It was like pure bliss of being there, and I knew I was healed. I knew that was it. And so after this retreat, I went full into this work, because I understood that it's not because you have one healing once that you're healed, because you need to train yourself not to go back to the place that you were before. And that's the work. That's what Dr. Joe's work is all about. You have to live in your desired reality, and that's very quantum based. Um, if you if you have a wonderful meditation and a wonderful healing, and then you flip off people on the highway, your healing goes down. You can't do it. If you go back to the job you hate, you're not going to stay healed, right? So you have to make a decision, make a lot of changes, and practice to feel in between your meditations as good as you feel during your meditation. And it's all about living from your heart and being kind and uh, loving people and just being of service. And the more you do that, the more you heal. And my health is perfect. I have tons of energy. It's been, I think it was 18 months ago that I had my first healing. Um, I've manifested everything I wanted. I'm supported financially. I just do what I love every day. It, it, and I started channeling one day out of the blue, and it just took me to such a higher consciousness that you have to walk your talk when you have this kind of energy coming through your body. You can't fake it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you can have a quantum leap towards your healing and towards, the desired reality. But I think you brought an important point. You can also have a quantum leap back,
Oh
and
yes,
that's that
very easy.
forgetfulness, right? Of like, this is what
Yep.
I have to breathe and maintain, and then you can jump right back to your old patterns. What did you want to say, Amy?
Yep.
Um, I don't recall. So you might have said what I was going to say or touched on
Okay,
it.
sorry. But yeah, I think that's really fascinating. And like, I remember early on in the Yoga Sutras, it talks about consciousness as the field of all possibility, and so that's a very
Yes.
interesting experience that it sort of defines that definition, right? It's like you're seeing all the different realities in which you could sort of breathe into your body.
Yep.
I wanted to ask one question. I missed, I think, the word where you described, like, you came back, you saw like your lower three chakras, right? And all the work that I know of, it's like, for us to be able to access the higher centers and be able to have this connection to the higher consciousness, that's where the work is, right? And so you
Yep.
saw that they all were carrying trauma and had blockages, and then what happened from there? Like, after you saw that and felt that, before everything opened up and the instantaneous healing happened.
Well, all the energy that was there just shot through my heart chakra. It
Oh,
was
shot through your
almost
heart
like I was,
chakra.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was almost as if I was throwing up my energy, but from the heart. It just went, and I saw like a white ghost go. It sounds crazy, but I swear it's true. I saw like a white ghost going out of me, and I understood that was my past self with all the trauma, and that made me cry a lot because I had a lot of compassion because I was in my heart. I was totally in my heart chakra at that moment, and also I could see that this past self was doing its best, and was really full of love and was really trying to make me live. And so it's like it's that moment that I forgave myself because I could see that it's like I fell in love with my past self. And I know Dr. Joe is something that he says too. I did my best every day of my life with the information that I had done. And so this past, I didn't need it anymore, but I couldn't hate it or be resentful of it. It's only acceptance and love.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was sort of like at that moment where that past self is leaving. There's like a sense of grieving, right?
Yes,
For
you have.
what you're letting go of.
Yes, that's where the courage came in because you can call it in. Many people they do that. They want to change, but they can't change. It's too scary. So you really have to, and that's why I feel like that's why most healing is gradual. It's not big leaps like that. You really have to be ready and practiced a lot. I was meditating a lot already. I had done years of therapy already. You have to be ready to sustain the new energy that comes through you. So you don't have to do big leaps like that. You can do baby leap.
Yeah.
But the important thing is what once you leap to another reality that you like, don't go back. Don't allow yourself to go back. Have faith instead of fear. That's really important.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's
also,
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's exactly what was going on in my head. Is like I think a lot of people think they want that quantum leap of healing, but the problem is like your sense of self can be very fragile, and so if you don't have a coherent, progressive approach, when you have a big shift like that, it can be destabilizing, and then you can't integrate it and maintain it. So then that
Mm-hmm.
can potentially create an experience where it even takes you further back to reconcile what's happened, much less than give you the quantum leap to where you feel like your healing has taken place in the way that you wanted it to. So it's so
Mm-hmm.
important that you have that foundation, and that's one thing I was going to ask. Like, and I imagine this happens in his retreats, but yours really seems like quite a substantial jump. Like, what is
Mm-hmm.
like the approach and the like the resources they have in place to sort of support the integration, when you have these sort of quantum leap type of experiences with folks healing.
Yes, you have a tons of. He has a wonderful team of volunteers. You have volunteers throughout the room at every meditation that they're here to help you. They have like medical team. It's a it's a really really safe place. Um, and there have been a lot of I have I have seen things I've never thought I would see. I have seen people paralyzed for 20 years get off their wheelchairs during meditation. um, I have seen a blind woman see again. um, because when you have 2,000 people meditating for healing at the same time, imagine the energy in the room.
Powerful field, yeah.
And then I know Dr. Joe talks about some people also who heal Parkinson disease, and but then when they would go back to the same environment that before, the Parkinson disease would come back. And so I know one of his students, a woman, she had to go to multiple retreats and find out what the change she needed to do in her life so that the Parkinson disease would not come back, because she understood after a while, every time I meditate, I feel good, but every time I do this, then it's come back, I feel bad, my memory goes away. So there must be something that I'm doing. And that's where we can start the whole discussion about you create your reality, man.
So, what do you think are some key elements after we've had an awakening experience like this? Is it that, of course, like we have to think about the way, like our own perception, our own belief systems, but it also seems like we probably have to make some shifts, like in our environment, in our day to day routine. Like, so
Yep.
what all changes do we need to make? Because I'm sure it's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, everybody needs to move to a new country and, don a new name and do that. But sort of what's necessary to sustain these kind of leaps.
For me, I would have, your answer evolves with your spiritual practice. But where I am now, I think the first thing is practice heart coherence.
Hmm.
There is a beautiful institute, it's called Heart Math. I'm one of their certified trauma sensitive practitioners.
Me
And
too.
oh, yeah, I know. Art math rocks. And they have a little device. It's called Inner Balance, and it tells you when you have a little app that you can put on your phone, and it tells you when you meditate or when you breathe. They have breathing techniques, etc. It tells you if you're in heart coherence. And I was really surprised because sometimes or oftentimes you feel loving and you feel good, but you're not in heart coherence because we have been trained to feel with our brain. So you do feel love, but you don't feel it through your heart. And it took me a long time to really, really be able to sustain heart coherence for 10 minutes at a time. Um,
Well, and also, like, I learned that in using the inner balance technology, that at first it brought up my performance anxiety.
mm.
I was like, oh, well, I need to perform heart coherence,
No.
which is the opposite of reality of heart coherence, right? But it did bring up my, oh, I must perform, I must do this right, and so I would find myself having a hard time,
Yeah.
kind of learning. I had to learn how to let that go.
And other really more practical things. I think we really need to be aware of our thoughts to answer your questions more practically in everyday life. You have to catch yourself once you have this kind of healing, or you want to go deeper and deeper into the work. Some people don't like to call it the work. That's how Dr. Joe calls it, but it's just the awakening of your consciousness. Or um, you can't when you live from your heart, you can't be angry at people all the time. So if somebody, you get pissed off because somebody cuts you off, it's okay to be pissed off for 2 seconds. But if you stay pissed off for 15 minutes, uh, you have work to do. So I think it's really, really important to have a spiritual practice, a meditation practice. More and more people are saying, everybody should meditate a little bit, and it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm in silence. It's like, for some people, meditation is painting. For some people, meditation is Tai Chi or Qigong, but something that is really quiet and you don't think, you just are. um, but really catching your thought and just say, no, do I really want to be this person right now? No. And you can also rehearse. And that's also a big part of Dr. Joe's practice. You can rehearse before you know you're going to a difficult situation. You have a colleague that is bullying you, or how are you going to react today to this person or to this environment? Or how you decide every morning what person you want to be today. And every night you check how you did, and it's okay. You don't beat yourself up because you decided to take the journey. So it's a journey. So tomorrow you start again.
Yeah. What if you could take me through, because I know you differentiated heart coherence versus feeling a sense of love in the brain, and I'm sure
Mhm.
there's quite of neurobiological science, probably with a lot of explanation of like neurotransmitters between synapses that would explain it. But and feel free to speak to that if you'd like to, but maybe but really like in a feeling sense and in experientially, how do you or what have you heard from others differentiating heart coherence versus a feeling of love that comes interpreted by the brain?
Yep. It's been really recent for me. It's just been like 1 or 2 months that I'm really can sustain the heart coherence. We feel heart coherence, when you have a burst of love for your baby, or or a beautiful landscape, or something that is just beauty. We feel it, but it's very fleeting. To sustain it, it's very different. And I thought I was doing it because, in the heart math they say breathe in and out of your heart. You have to have a elevated emotion like care or love, and so we can feel that. But I felt that I feel it around me, and then when you have to think of something to feel that emotion. And I think that's what brings us to our brain, because if I feel I feel sorry, I think about my daughters and I feel the love, but then I'm in my brain thinking about my daughters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes very different when you can bring your consciousness into your heart. And I know when I'm doing it, my breathing changes. Almost as if I'm not breathing. I almost just feel the energy flowing through my body and pumping my heart for me. I think that's what they say when they mean when they say you're being breathed. You're not breathing, you're being breathed. And in that space, when you really are in art coherence, you don't think at all. You don't think of nothing, of nobody, but it's just like this beautiful, very, very. I'm there right now. Wow.
Yeah.
This beautiful, very expansive place when you just are and everything is perfect. And that's how also you manifest everything you want in your life. And that's another part of Dr. Joe, because it's not all about healing, right? Because if you get stuck in I have to heal, I have to heal, I have to heal, you're never there, you're never home, you're never arrived. So at some point you have to also think of what do I want? What's my next adventure? What's exciting me today? And that's when you really start manifesting your life. And you manifest your life by having an intention and then bringing the emotion that you would feel if it had already happened. And that's what we mean by quantum jumping or living in your reality. But if you can't feel the feeling in your body, the manifestation cannot work because it means you're not living this life.
And in the interest of, cultivating this craft, this possibility, one of the things that I've found to be helpful is to find a memory. And, you remember a memory of when you were in a certain state, and then you let yourself remember the emotion and also the sensations. So, like, what did I feel in my body? What did I hear? What
Mm-hmm.
did I see? Maybe I saw the expression of someone who loves me, or maybe I saw the beauty of the sunrise. And as we begin, then that brings it further into the body. And then we can breathe that into the heart, and it helps us to move toward. So there can be a cultivation process too toward that. I find that when I do that, when I lead clients through a meditation like that, I automatically find that my breathing has changed.
Mm-hmm.
My voice becomes deeper and slower, and it's noticeable, but I don't intend that. It just happens as a result of moving into that different state of being.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nadia, I have a question. So, because I think what's so critical and sort of sounds like a prerequisite is to be in a state of heart coherence before you manifest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, I guess what is the mechanism for sort of catching yourself so that you don't get tripped up by the ego, and then what you're manifesting is really solely for your own benefit and maybe what's not in at least alignment with the greater good?
Well, I think if if you I don't think you can manifest for your own. I don't know if it works. I know a lot of people are a lot of us. We really train to manifest what we don't like because we think about what we don't like a lot of times during the day instead of
Mm.
thinking of what we want really. Um, but catching yourself is, it's just at the end, it's just being kind. Uh, and sometimes we overcomplicate things because we are all led by our minds all the time, and that's what we need to really to come back to the heart to calm down the mind a little bit. It's just a tool, but just be kind. It shouldn't be that hard. The other day I was at the grocery store, and the bagger was a young man, like maybe 14 or 15. He still has his braces on and everything, and he was so cute. He was like, "Oh, where is your accent from?" And we start chatting, and he was bagging at the same time. And it was Saturday afternoon, so you imagine the crowd and the lines and stuff. But the lady behind us leans over and, tells to the little bagger, uh, "You're holding up the line, man. Less talking, more bagging." And it made me so sad. I was like, "What?" you know. And then, you have compassion for this woman. You don't know what she's going through and everything. But be kind to each other. And so then, if it was me who had said something like that, that's when you catch yourself and then you apologize. You want to get rid of this energy that you had. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having a very bad day. You're doing a good job." That's what I mean. You catch yourself. It's okay to get angry, but 1 second and then you're like, "Oh, that's not the person I want to be."
Mm.
And so the more you do that, the less you react, and then you can't say something like that to other people. It becomes impossible in your consciousness to treat other people like that.
Yeah. One thing that I also learned is to notice when my energy starts to rise. So, like when I'm moving into like a fight or flight, or maybe I'm moving into a shutdown. So I notice a certain kind of rising of energy within my body. So my nervous system is going into a certain state. And when I notice that, it's like, oh, is this the state that I want to be in? Is this the state I want to live from? And then I have some steps that I can take to bring my nervous system into a different state of being. So that's another way. Before you even say anything, right? Or
Yeah.
before you take action, to actually catch yourself. But there is the story of the man walking down the road, and this is kind of how our humanity works, I think, is that the man is walking down the road and he doesn't see the hole and he falls in it.
Hmm.
Can't figure out how to get out. So somebody has to help him out. And this happens several times. And then, another day he's walking down the road. He sees the hole, but he still falls in it. And eventually he learns how to get out on his own. And then he sees the hole and he walks around it. And then there's another day where he decides to walk down a different street.
Yep.
And I think that that's really how our humanity works. It's like, well, we want to do something different, and it's easy to give up because I keep falling in the same hole. I didn't see it and I just kept falling in. Or even when I did see it, I went ahead and fell in anyway. And that's okay because that's just part of how our growth process is. And then, one day our brain or our nervous system, our attention is going to become aware of the hole before we fall in and make a different choice. And then it becomes habitual, as Nadia said. Then it becomes habitual and it's hard to do anything different.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I thought with the question that I had asked you as I was, um, listening to your answer, and I guess like another element to think about is, if I've moved away from heart coherence, like where am I coming from with the sense of looking at like the future possibility, looking at the possibilities I want to manifest, right? Am I still coming from a place where I have my needs met, I feel secure, I'm really embodying faith, or am I coming from a place where I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough? I'm afraid
Oh, yeah.
the support I have is not going to be there, right? Those like classic pitfalls,
Yeah,
and I think a lot
right.
of those tend to be more associated in the United States culture because we don't have as many social safety nets, and sometimes lack the sense of support institutionally and familial sometimes. So I think that might be like the main caveat to sort of look out for is like from what place am I coming from?
Yes, it's a very good point. It's very important because that's exactly how you manifest what you don't want, because the universe or God or source doesn't hear words. It hears the energy. So you manifest the energy you relate you're matched to. So if
Mhm.
you fear, if you want money because you're in a lack of money, the energy that you give to the universe is lack of money. I don't have money. I really need money because I don't have it. But the universe only hears I don't have it. And that's what you're manifesting in your life. So that's what Dr. Joe also has walking meditation. When we train to walk with our eyes open, sustaining this energy of I'm already where I want. So you walk like somebody who has the freedom to go wherever they want, whenever they want, because they have enough money to do everything. And you will see you walk differently. Your shoulders fall back, your head lifts up. You know, it's like it's amazing to have a walking meditation with all these people, and they're jumping up and down and they're skipping in joy, and they have tears down their cheeks because they are all in the, and I sob every single time because they are all in their life that they want for themselves, and they sustain this emotion like I already have all the abundance. It's in the field. It's when it every single possibility is in the field. So there is a possibility where I have all I need and more. I just have to accept to live in that reality. And then little by little the shifts happen in your life. But you can't give up because you did it one day and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you said sobbing, I just want to make sure that the audience understands what you meant, Nadia, because I'm guessing that the sobbing that you're talking about comes from your heart breaking
Oh
open with the
yes,
joy.
oh yes, it's so beautiful to see, especially men, and ex-military. Dr. Joe works a lot with veterans, and so they have seen and done some terrible things and have done to them, and so they have a lot of PTSD. And when they see them on the beach and they have tears down their cheeks and they're smiling to the sky, I mean,
Mm, yeah.
it shows us, we can all be like that all the time. We really can.
I also think it's useful to make the distinction. I think you touched on it earlier, Nadia, but the distinction between reaction that comes from our lower brain, primal brain, from our nervous system. Like we'll have a reaction of like anger, you
Mm-hmm.
said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, and then I noticed that, and then I can make a choice. I
Mm-hmm.
can choose how I'm going to respond. And as I had mentioned, it's helpful to have some steps like, oh, these are the things that I know to do to help myself make the choice that I want to make or move into the state of being I want to move into. And I just think it's important for our forgiveness of ourselves and just to realize that we're going to have a reaction. Reaction doesn't have to be our choice. It's just a moment
Yep.
of what the body has decided, the
Yep.
body's reaction
Yep.
to danger or, perceived danger.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've got a funny example because I think for some people, and when I was younger, this definitely would have been a harder concept for me to try to work with, of like act as if it's already happened. And so I was in a ceremony one
Mm,
time, and there was a guy that you could tell was dealing with some like self-deprecating type of conflict internally. And so the facilitator had him just walk around the altar, walk in a circle, right, where everyone's sitting around. And so the way, I mean, he was a tall guy, but like you could just feel like the closure of his energy field, right? Everything was sort of tight. His shoulders were tight. His arms were like glued to his side body, and sort of like making himself small. Then he had him do the same thing, but he had this like almost like Halloween costume of like a king. So he had like a little cape, he had a little crown, and then like a little staff thing in his hand. And then by doing that, it's like, okay, now embody as if you're a king. And then his whole posture changed, his whole energy changed, and he just walked around like he owned the room. And it was just it was so fascinating to just change something so simple, right? But embody as if you're already someone who's confident and he rules the land. And to just watch him walk around that circle, 2 seconds after just putting these little, trivial kids' play things on was just so fascinating to see.
that's beautiful. It makes me think of a Sufi word, sovereignty. They talk about sovereignty, and sovereignty is con- considered to be the combination of humility and confidence.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
to have confidence alone does not create sovereignty. To have humility alone does not create sovereignty. But to have both humility and confidence interwoven creates that sense of sovereignty or kingship, or queenship, as you said, Dan.
Hmm. Yeah, so Nadia, it seems like now that you had cleared out your field and really worked through a lot of your challenges in the first three chakras, it seemed like now a new, not a new gift, but a gift that you probably had before was really opening up and becoming more concrete in your channeling. So I just wondered if you wanted to talk about how that started to emerge for you and then what kind of doors it was helping you to open.
Yes, yeah, it's been very unexpected and beautiful. So I've been, since this first retreat, I attended a few more retreats in a year too, because I really, I don't know, I fell in love with the work. I fell in love with the quantum science. It just spoke to me so beautifully, and I really wanted to go super deep in it. I wanted to go, you know, it was not even about healing, or I just wanted to go as deep as I could. I wanted to, I want to see God.
Uh-huh.
So, it's been a blast, really. And so I had many mystical experiences. I manifested stuff that was incredible. My kids started manifesting stuff, and it's been a very joyous year for my family because we're expanding, and it's crazy how fast it goes these days. And One day I was just it was a few months ago. My third daughter had a period when she was having a lot of nightmares, and so she would come into my bed. And so I woke up in the morning, and I looked at her, and she opened her eyes at the same time. And suddenly words flew through me, and it was not me speaking, it was her higher self. And I was like, it's not that I was not dissociated. I was on the back seat. I could see myself a little bit, as if I was in the back of my head, but my
Hmm.
mouth and my eyes was would be used by somebody else. I could hear everything. I couldn't remember everything, some of it, but not. I could scratch my nose, and some channels they're completely out of the picture, but I was aware and conscious. And My third child, being who she is, she didn't miss a beat. She started talking to her higher self, like like it happened every day, asking questions about school and about Jesus. And she was so cute, and she spoke for a long time. Um, and For me, what happens, what the energy that was flowing through me was so pure and so high. I sweat a lot. I was sweating a lot, I mean, in this moment. I was shaking at the end. It became, after a while, it became hard to sustain this kind of energy. And so then I practiced with different friends to sustain that kind of very high energy. And nobody knows who we channel, right? It's all aspect of the divine anyway, because it's all one field of consciousness. So it's funny that I would be very curious to know why sometimes we feel Jesus, why sometimes we feel an angel, why sometimes we feel a fairy. It's funny how it works. Um, but For some people who don't believe in it or don't know how to differentiate if they're channeling or not channeling, when you channel, you feel only love. uh, Nothing that can go through a channeling can be negative, because it's all going to be about how you already are, what you want to become, how we are all one, and the consciousness is raising, and it's all words of love, and it's so pure and it's so beautiful. So that's when I say, when you have this kind of energies and you want to keep having this kind of energies flowing through you, you have to walk your talk. You can't be mean to people and then say, "Hey, Jesus, talk to me." It just doesn't doesn't work that way. But it has changed. It has not changed my life like Dr. Joe's teaching changed my life, really, but it has taken me deeper than I thought I would be able to go, and it had given me like a peace and a love and a joy of just being there all the time. Um, I'm grateful. I don't channel for people every day, but I know I have like instant guidance when I need it. I channel for myself every day inside of my mind, because I want God to make the decisions. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful. It's just really beautiful.
I know you also spoke of a moment where the language of light came through, and that was
Hmm.
something new to you, right? That you
Hmm.
had never heard of before, right? You had to kind
No.
of research to figure out what is this that's happening. Tell us about that
I
experience.
was like, oh, that's it. I'm crazy. I went too far. Yeah, it's funny because it started with hand gestures. I was in meditation and suddenly my hands wanted to move, and they moved like little mantras and in front of my face, and like almost like if you were writing an alphabet, but it was not an alphabet. And then sound started coming out of my mouth, and at first I didn't want to make sound because I was not singing in a in a uh, in a setting, in an official setting, so I didn't want to make noise. But I couldn't help it because my throat was burning, you know. I really wanted to say something. So I just let it out, you know, and it was like, oh, and it sounded like gibberish, but I let it flow. And the more I let it flow, the more I let it flow, the more I know it made sense to some part of me. And when I stopped, I felt so clear, like I had given myself a cleaning or something, or anointing. And I don't really it doesn't come all the way all the time through me, and I don't really understand it, but I know it's just a kind of completely energetic thing that happens through the mouth. It's not I don't know if it's real language, but for me it just feels like energy that gets you to another level, that you need in that moment. It gives like so much clarity, and it's just fun. I've not dove too deep into that, so I cannot say a lot more, but it's just fun when it happens.
So, I'm curious, like, what belief systems do you think need to change in our world and in ourselves to create new pathways and more opportunities for our children, each other as adults, but also for our children to bloom and share their unique gifts most easily? Do you have thoughts on that?
I just missed a word. What need to change?
Oh, let's see.
That was at the beginning.
Yeah, just belief systems. What belief systems might need to change,
Ah,
or what need to change within ourselves, whether it's belief systems or
oh.
something else.
Um, I think the most, at least in the Western world, but for our society, what I think the most pervasive and dangerous belief system that we have is that we are not good enough.
Mm.
We are
Mm,
not enough.
yeah.
We are
Yes.
incomplete. We are imperfect. We are not worthy. We don't deserve it. It's not for me. Yeah, other people can heal, and I believe it's true, but not for me. Other people can be abundant, but it's too hard for me. So really the self-deprecation, like Dan was talking about, uh, I think that really needs to change, because it's really a low vibration that cannot bring any good to anybody. And also there's something that is more in a societal perspective, is that it's really socially good and expected that we commiserate together, that if somebody is sad, all the people around them needs to be sad. And I think that's a big mistake. And for me, that's the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy, you bring yourself down to the level of misery that is expected from you, but then it puts the consciousness down for everybody, and you cannot help somebody if you're suffering with them. You can't help them. They will feel seen, that's cool, but you can't help them. Compassion is that you feel their, you know they're suffering, you feel they're suffering, but you stay in your higher consciousness, and from there you can have solution and you can help. So it doesn't mean you have to be happy when somebody else is crying. That's not what I mean. But you can hold space, but you don't. We have to stop to go there. You know, we have to stop to share our misery all the time. Like, oh, how I like sometimes Dr. Joe says, oh, how was your day? Oh, bad. Oh, mine was worse. You know, we have to
Mm-hmm.
stop going there. We have to. you can hold space and say, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, and then you don't have to say, oh, I had a great day, because you want to be you always want to be kind, but you don't have to add to the misery of people around you, because it's not a good way to live, really. And I think it's a big
Yeah.
problem now. And then we have miseries that we invent, because honestly, guys, the United States is not a terrible country to live in. And we feel like when you go outside, you feel like you're in a war zone, or like everybody's super poor, or we can't make it. Or, I mean, we're the richest country in the world, and maybe not anymore, I don't know, but we're doing pretty good. So we we have to see the good sides too, right?
Yeah. I know that because my clients are all highly empathic people, meaning that there's an ability to
Mm-hmm.
touch into what other people are feeling or experiencing. And so, one of the ways that I like to describe that is sort of like if you stick your finger or a toe into some water so that you can feel the temperature. And it's like, oh, I'm feeling the emotional temperature of the person in front of me or the room around me, but I don't have to adjust to that temperature.
Yes, yes,
I
exactly.
can, as you said, I can stay in my higher state of consciousness and feel compassion for this person or this field of energy around me that is of a different temperature, but I don't have to adjust
Mm-hmm.
to that.
Yep.
And then I have the opportunity to allow the potential that that temperature or that emotional climate can shift in a way that's beneficial. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's exactly how healing works. When you do healing, and
Yeah.
in Dr. Joe retreats, we also, I always talk about Dr. Joe. I'm so sorry,
That's okay.
but
No, that's great. I
in
love
his
hearing about that. Yeah.
retreats, we have like coherence healing, when we are in a group of eight, and one person who required healing at the beginning of the retreat is laying down, and we are all around them, and we don't get to their level of suffering or pain. We don't even know what we help them heal, because nobody heals anybody else, right? You heal yourself. But what we do is we get as close as a coherent state as we want through a meditation, and all our energy fields around this person became as coherent and full of love, as with a lot of compassion, and then it shows their energy field what is possible, and that's how healings happen. So you don't help somebody heal by bringing down your energy to their level, because then you're sick too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you bring them up out of their sickness by showing that there's another energy that is possible for them. It makes me think of the story of Anita Mourjani, who died of cancer because she was so scared of cancer that she got cancer, because her best friend got cancer and somebody else got cancer, and then she got cancer. And then I don't know if you know Anita Mourjani. She's a beautiful, amazing woman who had a near-death experience, and came back with a mission of uh, helping people to live through their true self and be who they are.
Beautiful. No, I hadn't heard of her before.
Mm.
I love the name Coherence Healing. That's a really beautiful
Yep.
name, and
Hmm.
it I, I brought something. I connect with something similar myself, and I called it Healing Presence. And but I like the name Coherence Healing a lot, and I feel like that this is something that's our birthright. It's our
Hmm. Hmm.
birthright to
Yeah.
carry this, but we've been kind of trained out of it, and then we've forgotten about it, and then we forget that we have that, and forget that we deserve it. Right. I also wanted to ask you, Nadia. I mean, the word deserve is loaded, right? We often say, "Oh, well, we don't deserve something," and then the healing statement to that is, "Well, you do deserve it." But it's kind of it's a two-headed coin, and I'm curious, do you have a way to say, to talk about, you were talking about the dangerous belief system that we're not worthy and we don't deserve things. So is there a way that you think of to make that statement that's not like, because when we say we deserve something, then
Oh
sometimes we
yes.
automatically start to think of all the ways we might not deserve it, like don't think about pink elephants, and that's all
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah,
think
yeah.
about.
No, I don't think it's really a word that is loaded, and it's really 3D, because it puts everything in a hierarchy.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
nothing to be deserved. For me, it's just like, um, this is who we are. There's nothing to do. We should uh
Good
that's
Right? It's
catch.
French.
hard to get out of the
Good
language.
catch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
catch,
Good
Nadia.
catch.
So we are supposed to be healthy because it's our natural state. Then it's the layers of programming and disbelief that we put around us. We are supposed to be abundant because that's just how the universe is. Everything is abundant around us. We just put a lot of beliefs that prevent us from being who we are. But it's like the very well known story about is it Michelangelo with the statue of David, and he said he knew David was there all along, he just had to chip away the stone. So it's the same, we have to chip
Hmm.
away of our programming. We're already there, there's nothing to be deserved, it's just we are.
Oh, that's a beautiful way of saying that. I love that.
Yeah, and I'd like to add one point to that concept of empathy versus compassion, because what I also noticed too is the person who's suffering, they can feel when they've pulled someone down, and the whole phrase like misery loves company, and that can almost be like an addiction, right? Is like
Yeah,
now
that's true.
now I feel that every like, and I remember working at the school, like a kid would be upset, and this was with like neurodivergent kids, and then it was almost like this. Now you feel what I feel, and and like you said, it's a very maladaptive. It's a very I don't want to say pathological, but it's a very toxic kind of trait, right? And that's expected for someone who's learning emotional resilience, and who's a single digit age child. But especially in an adult, that can be a really toxic dynamic. And so, like you said, if that's a social expectation, is that we should meet and then drop our energy fields to the level of the other person so that they feel seen, then that's really not a great way forward. And it's like they can still be seen. And this has helped also for me, Amy, putting more light on what healing presence is. It's seeing them, meeting them where they are, but not having to match them in terms of the emotion and the energetic
The,
expression of what they're feeling. We hold
right,
a
the
higher
vibration.
vibration.
That's right, holding the truer vibration. And I also think it's important here that we acknowledge that for those who know that they're empaths, that there's a way of being, as Nadia said, a trained empath or
Hmm.
an empath that has the ability to make that wise choice of where you're going to hold your own vibration while you feel compassion for the other person. Um, and then a lot of us are untrained empaths, or we even have been trained to do these things that,
Hmm.
like Dan was just speaking of. And so it's not really about being an empath or not, it's about learning to make the wise choices of compassion or moving your vibration to be like something that's not beneficial. Does that resonate? Does that make sense to you, both of you?
Yeah.
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 Nadia, are there any other, because you mentioned the issue with unworthiness, which I think is really pervasive. I
Hmm.
remember Adya Shanti was on a like a webcast and was talking how that was like the core. He called it the core wound of unworthiness because it's so ubiquitous,
Hmm.
it's so common in our culture. I think also you nailed it on the head with the sort of compelled empathy, and that's like I think a lower understanding of emotional support for each other. Any other sort of common core wounds that you've seen, whether those have really, you see those more in France or here, just in your life, that you see other people going through that we could maybe bring to people's awareness that might be residing in them?
Yeah, there's the fear that if somebody else has it, you won't be able to have it. So it's the survival instinct. I need to get there first. I need to have it first. I need to, when like during COVID, like everybody wanted the first roll of toilet paper.
Oh man, that's a
So
funny example.
sorry, I don't know why I thought of that.
I love that one.
What if
That's
I
a
can't
great
wipe my
example.
butt?
I just
I
saw
don't want
all the
anybody
people
else to be able
running
to either.
into Publix and grabbing all the toilet paper, like, yeah, it's mine, it's mine. I'm like, as if we cannot
Yeah.
share.
Right.
So for me, it's also, it's a good segue to talk also about the school system, because as long as we train our children to think they need to put somebody else down to succeed, or only one can have the best grade, only one can be the valedictorian, only one can have the scholarship, only one, it's really scarcity what I'm talking about, right?
Mm.
And it's scarcity, but scarcity is not only money, it's scarcity of everything. And that's a big, big belief that we have, and uh, it's not doing us any good, because we have enough to share. We really do. We really, really do.
Well, and even like of qualities like, oh, this person has, so much joy or so much courage, and then to be envious of that. And
Hmm.
I know there are words in some languages. I know Hebrew has one, although I can't remember what it's called. To take joy in the success or the happiness or the well-being of another person as if it was your own.
Mm.
And that's just so different from the
Yep.
thing that you're describing. And so to cultivate that within ourselves, it seems like is a way to shift our vibration in a positive way.
Sandra, just yesterday, she was at school, so she's my 12-year-old, my third one, and she wants to go into a high school of the art, and her friend wants to go too. And so they were drawing in their spare time at school, and her friend made a beautiful drawing. And Sandra comes home and tells me, for 1 second I was jealous because her drawing was so beautiful. And then I thought, you know what, she's a very good model for me, because I want to draw like that too. So I just congratulated her for a nice drawing and asked her what technique she used. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it
really.
creates that state of being that is bounteous, and abundant. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think those are two good ones to identify, like the jealousy consciousness and then like the poverty or scarcity consciousness.
Mhm.
I think are two huge pitfalls, especially in the context of a sort of a very highly capitalist society, right? And then
Mhm.
you have that more front facing with what I have and what you don't have, with the advent of social media and everyone wanting the attention and the gratification around what they do have, or what, whether that be things or experiences or what have you. So I think those are two really big pitfalls to bring awareness to. Are there any other like wounds or
Oh,
pitfalls?
yes. Oh my gosh, how could I forget this one? The division. I mean, the judgment of others, like,
Mm.
Republicans, Democrats, Catholic, Protestants, black, white. I mean, we're all souls that came here to learn something. We're all the same. I mean, some people want to experience being Republican, some people want to experience being Democrat. That's not of your business. What is it about judging everybody and you're right and they're wrong? No. And if you come back to the real truth, that you create your reality, what they say is the truth that they see. What you say is the truth that you see. Everybody is right all the time, because what we want to see, we see in our reality.
Mm.
So it doesn't make sense to argue about this or that, or you just see what you want to see
Mm. Yeah, and judgment is very sharp. And
these days.
yeah, when someone applies that to you, it can be quite painful.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other ones that you can think of?
Oh no, that's enough.
That's enough of that.
That's enough of that. No, that's the main thing. Scarcity, judgment, self-judgment, is the self-deprecation or unworthiness, as you said. Yeah, it's the big ones. If we already catch ourselves when we feel that way, and we make a little change to be better than that, so that's already a lot.
Yeah, I think that's plenty for everyone to work on. And I don't say
Yep.
this to um, so that this becomes so present in our field and that we emanate and manifest from this place. But I think it's important because a lot of times these can be subtle, and they
Oh,
sort of
yes.
can be hidden in the subconscious. And so I think a lot of work in our first three chakras um, are in relationship to these consciousness aspects that we've named. And so just to kind of keep these in the back of your mind as you go through your day and realize, ooh, am I coming from one of these
Yep.
in terms of how I'm manifesting, how I'm relating with other people? Am I coming from a place of love? And in the heart, I think, in relationship to yourself, because sometimes that's it has a little bit of a shadow element to it where it's easier to see from the outside view, but within in yourself and in your own mind and decision making, that can be a little bit more hidden.
And if you want to go deeper, they all stem from the same thing. It's how we give our power away to the external world.
Mm.
Instead of trusting in God, we trust in everything. Like for my thyroid, for a while, I was asked to be gluten free, dairy free, soy free, everything free. I was food free, and I'm French, so that's super hard. That's extra hard. I can't be all that free. And then I was like, it's just beliefs. Because everything is energy. If I think that bread is good for me, I mean that as a joke, a half joke, right? But what I'm trying to say is that you have to know what's good for you, and it's not the answer is never out there.
Mm.
Somebody is going to do great doing being carnivorous. Somebody is going to do great doing vegan. Your body is different. Your consciousness is different. Your path is different. Your soul was different things. So we really need to go back and to the inner presence and really trust that, when you feel expanding, when you feel good, when you feel healthy, it's that you're doing good for yourself, even if the people around you are doing something else.
Yeah.
I just remembered too the word that I was trying to think of earlier. It's firgun, Firgun. It's a Hebrew word that means something like to take delight, genuine, unselfish delight in someone else's success or happiness, a generosity of spirit that has kind of a characteristic of being empathically joyful for someone else's good fortune.
Mm,
And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because it's easy for us to say, "Well, I don't want this," but in the spirit of what you're telling us, Nadia, it's like what I do want.
mm,
So even if I find a new word, right, that clarifies what I do want, then maybe that's helpful. So maybe instead of not wanting to be selfish or jealous, what I do want is forgotten.
yes, it's a beautiful word.
Yeah, so it can be really pleasant to find words that encompass the qualities and the state of being that you want to be in. And sometimes those come from other languages.
Hmm.
Definitely. Nadia, would you like to talk about how all of this insight and your journey has sort of influenced now your relationship with how you take that into your art? Maybe incorporating some of the aspects of sacred geometry?
Mm.
I will say again, my art is budding. So I do little drawings, and sometimes it's like the light language. It came through me very unexpectedly. I just I never was it's not that I was not allowed, but I was never encouraged to draw because my mom didn't think my drawings were very good, and she always said, you're an intellectual, so you don't need art. So I've never explored art at all. I've never drawn, just colored in the lines,
Mm.
ironically, as was expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
But suddenly, like recently, I've been drawing a lot, and it's all coming through me in a lot of geometric drawings and colors. And it's not me doing it. I know it's the spirit. Like it's full of love. This drawing, they're not super. So I have a little Etsy shop that I'm just setting up right now, and I can give you the link. But if people go there, it's not Da Vinci, right? It's
It's
a middle
Nadia.
aged. Oh, it's not it. It's Nadia. It's a middle aged mom who has like things coming through her and puts them in drawing. But it's full of love and energy, and I'm sure they're meant for certain people, and they have a lot of uh, good good juju inside them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, and I put all my love into it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Amy, any other questions that you had for Nadia?
Well, I was wondering if this was a good time for Nadia and I to just kind of like quickly introduce the co creation that we're in the process of working on.
By all means.
Um, yeah, so Nadia and I together as colleagues are co creating an offer that to help folks to reconnect or to deepen their connection with their authenticity, their divine nature, and to learn to just live and express more and more from that place rather than unconsciously returning to old familiar programs that are really not beneficial. And this will be an individual journey, but also within a community of other people who have similar resonant intentions, which kind of creates a current. I think of a current in the ocean. You know, it's like if we're swimming by ourselves, it can be pretty rough. But, you know, when there's a current created, then we get to ride that current a little bit. It makes that a bit easier and less lonely. So, one way I might talk about that is Nadia spoke earlier of a quantum leap. And so, you know, potentially there's the opportunity for a quantum leap or a radical shift in vibration within this community. And, uh, and it might be, you know, a quantum leap that is sudden, or it might be a quantum leap that it has, you know, baby steps. But that's the intention, is to allow you to take that radical shift in vibration in the direction that we've been talking about today. And having said that, I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, Nadia.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think there will be quantum physics involved and
Yeah.
channeling and Amy's super gift with stories and that's going to be a beautiful place and we're working on it. It's like it's in the field, it's coming through bit and pieces through us and we're putting it together, but uh, I know it's going to be beautiful and a very sacred and safe place if you want to just expand your consciousness.
Yeah, and we're having a lot of conversation about making sure that we create this from the space of what we're trying to create. You know, to create it from an energy of being in touch with our authenticity and what wants to come through, instead of having our ego and
Yeah.
programming get too involved in in the creation of something that's meant to be
Hmm.
returning to our authenticity. So it's a beautiful practice for us at the same time as we're creating something that will allow others to have a community where this is where you're accompanied in this journey.
That sounds awesome. And we'll have a link in the description of the podcast once that comes available. And that's how you can be able to access the offering with Amy and Nadia. With that, Nadia, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Just, everybody be gentle with yourself and respect your
Mm,
desires and needs.
and timing.
Yeah, it's okay to rest too, I will say to my American fellows. I don't,
It's not
I
our
don't,
strong point.
I don't need to say it to the French, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay to sit down for lunch. It's okay to be, to go with the flow. It's okay to not want to do something. It's a time to be gentle with yourself and help each other, and take it a little bit easy.
Yeah, like we don't always have to eat lunch sitting at the desk, typing with one
No,
hand and cheeseburger in the other hand staring at the screen, right?
no,
A
I
Exactly.
French
can't do
person thinks that
that.
concept is insane.
Ah. And also be gentle with your children because they are a lot more
Mm,
awakened than we were. And it's a subject that is very dear to my heart. I really think the old system is dying down and the schools are not catching up. It's very hard for big systems like that to catch up, but the school have
Yeah.
not caught up at all with how our children are, and it's very hard for our children to sit still and listen to somebody else um, for 6 hours a day when they have so many things in their mind and so many things in their spirit. And if you really take the time to listen to your children, they have so much wisdom and they're so connected.
Hmm.
So um, just really remember that children, their souls, their and you know I don't know, like too many extracurricular activities, too much in the 3D worlds all the time.
yeah.
Just be gentle with your children.
Yeah. I will speak. A very wise man said to me a long time ago, he said to me, I've always remembered it, it was probably 40 years ago. He said, be patient with yourself and be patient with your patients, as in,
Mm,
because I always wanted to be further along, you know, and
Hmm.
he was like, so be patient with yourself, but be patient with the development of your patients.
mm,
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I thought that was very wise man.
yeah, that's very, very wise. And it makes me think of sometimes like our daughters, we say like to go brush her teeth, and then she's in the bathroom for like 15 minutes. I'm like, it doesn't take but 2 minutes. And then she's in there playing and singing and, doing
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
all ever she's doing in there. And then, it's like, and it's so great that you bring this up because it's that reminder of that is that sacred time for her to not have to be forced into all the demands of the 3D world and have to go along with the pacing that society's pushing us towards, which is not right for her, right? And so,
Yes.
as much
Yeah,
as we're able to allow that space and for her to have that time to explore herself and not have to be so pressed upon by the
Yes.
demands of the 3D world and the pacing that this country pushes us.
Yeah, children, they really show us all the time how to be because they live in no time. When a child is
hmm,
playing or drawing, doesn't have time. So I think that would be super awesome if we started joining them in their no time instead of pulling out of, you don't have to draw anymore. We have to go.
Mm,
yeah,
You have to go back in my world where everything is quick and you have to go, go, go and do. But no, mom, when they have so many tantrums because they don't want to leave of course, they have to leave the playground at some point. That's not what I'm saying, but it's where it comes from. It's that they live in no time, and sometimes we really have to join them there because that's where the magic is.
mm. Yeah, and concede a
yeah.
little bit our own
That's where the magic
expectations.
is. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Well, this has been just so revealing and so intriguing, Nadia. I so appreciate you sharing your story and your wisdom and all that you have learned. And yeah, what else do you have to say, Dan?
Um, yeah, I guess I would just echo a huge sense of gratitude to Nadia for being willing to be so forthcoming in her specific journey, and bringing forth her wisdom that's come as a result, some of that painfully so, and
Mm.
being willing to share that with all the listeners and really some new threads for us in this podcast. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of insight and a lot to sort of bite and chew over the two episodes that this is going to be. So just really want to thank Nadia and Amy for helping bring this collective of folks together to bring this vibration of wisdom together right now, and really think it's going to be very impactful for anyone that it touches.
Yeah, and Dan for leading us through. He's a very good
Hmm.
leader. And also, he does all of our editing. And I just want to give him a great big nod for that because the editing is a time consuming, challenging thing to do. And he's very much appreciated for that. Also, it occurs to me to give a shout out to Nadia's kids, 3 plus 1, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because they've been such inspiration for her in her life and been so supportive, and just for the lives that they're choosing to lead. It just is really
Yes.
inspirational to hear about.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah, it's amazing to see. So thank you so much. That was very good. It's time. At some point, I want to show also the women that go through similar experiences, the abuse and everything. That at some point the guilt and the shame they live, and you just want to be of service. And if you can help with your story, one woman to feel less alone, is just worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, and
it.
thank you for doing that.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, as we close here, coming back into a place where we keep the eyes closed and bringing the body to a moment of stillness, and bringing our awareness back to our breath, and giving a pause here to let all of the insights, all of the new information, all the things that have stirred us, giving them a place to sit inside us. And just embodying the gratitude from Nadia, from Amy, from myself, and from the Spirit of Jesus and the Christ consciousness, which has helped emanate this wisdom
Mhm.
to come through in this transmission. And as we seal this in our transition to the next step, taking a nice deep breath in and exhale, release. Thank you so much, Nadia Donze and Amy
Yeah,
Bear. Thank you so much to everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Bye.